Hello, this is Pixel Freak, and today I'm talking about a game called Tainted Keep. So this is another one of the exclusive NVIDIA games that just came out yesterday with the Shield. This one works on Tegra 3 and Tegra 4 devices, so if you have one of those old Tegra 3 devices, it still will work. It takes a little bit of power to get it going, but it still does the job. Tegra 4, I'm sure it runs like buttery smooth goodness, but the Shield is the only Tegra 4 device that I know of that's out right now. However, there are some slated to come out very soon, so the use of this game will only get better over time. Now, this is being a Tegra exclusive game, expected to be a graphical display of awesomeness, and I can say even on Tegra 3, that is the case. This game does look pretty good. I'd say, in fact, that for action RPGs, this is probably the best looking action RPG that I've seen so far on Android. And that's including Bloodsword, which is an action RPG that came out yesterday as well. Now, with Bloodsword, my biggest critiques, if you watched that review, were the fact that it's not a very deep game. You do level up, but your skills don't ever change and your weapons don't ever change. You're pretty much just mashing the exact same buttons all the way through. Even though you level up a little bit, it really only affects your stats. In this game, that's not true. There's a lot more going on for Tainted Keep than there was in Bloodsword, but unfortunately, it doesn't feel the same as Bloodsword did. The controls are a bit clunkier, the camera angles are just really off. Unfortunately, I have to say, from my perspective of playing it on a tablet, it wasn't a great experience in the gameplay and controls department. For the overall story, Tainted Keep actually starts out really well, giving you this kind of overview of what's going on, this decaying land, and a really cool, interesting mechanic that is present in Tainted Keep is that your soul is separate from you and kind of leads you along as you go through the game. And it'll tell you when you're going into an area that you probably shouldn't be or when you're going into an area that you probably should be. Unfortunately, that's really where the story ended, and it alludes to the fact that there's going to be a lot of story-driven events going on in the game, but after playing the game for a couple hours, the story events really ended at the beginning, and as you play through the game, you really don't know what's going on aside from the fact that you're going deeper and deeper into the keep. So for story, it ends up as a wash. There's not really much story here. There are some cool elements of the game. For instance, as you go through, you unlock 4 different spells in each different chamber of the game as you go. You also get a couple different skills, and those lay out on the left-hand side. They accumulate over time as well. You'll unlock them, finding them in like treasure chests and secret rooms throughout the game. You also get access to about 4 or 5 different weapons, and the weapons level up as you use them. So the ones that you use most often, they get better and better. That means when you get a new weapon, you either have to grind it or just never use it again because they quickly become so useless against the enemies that you're fighting that it doesn't make any sense to use them at all. The weapon system, though it seems pretty interesting that you'd be able to use different weapons, the game mechanics of how it was implemented just don't really work for me. There is a pretty wide array of enemies that you find in the game. In the first level, you'll run into mostly just goblins with shields, but as you progress through, you find mages and these putrid spitting trolls and huge goblins with axes, and there's an array of different bosses throughout the game. It's probably enough to keep you on your toes and keep you interested in the game without feeling repetitive. It's also noteworthy to mention that there are no in-app purchases in this game whatsoever. No ads, no in-app purchases, but the price of the game is $5, so it's a little bit steeper than things we're expecting to see out on the market, but given the amount of depth in the game, I think they're not crazy for asking for $5. Despite all this, my overall recommendation for Tainted Keep is that maybe people should wait on buying this game, probably for a sale or maybe after there's been some updates. My primary complaint about the game is that it really doesn't feel that polished as far as the core mechanics work. For instance, death. Normally in games, we expect death to have some sort of penalty, and in this game, there is a penalty. It moves you back about 5 spaces and then you spawn. So if you're in a room fighting about 15 different enemies and you die, you're just going to spawn right back in that exact same room, and whatever you've hit, and you're going to continue on fighting. So the penalty is next to nothing. Gameplay mechanics like that really need to be fixed, and the controls and the camera angles should be polished at least a little bit. And the combat could probably be a little bit more enjoyable as well, even though, as I previously mentioned, it's a lot better than other hack and slash games. For the good and the bad, Tainted Keep is a decent experience, though I think that you could probably do a little bit better if you're spending $5 on the Google Play Store today. Because of that, I'm giving Tainted Keep 70 pixels out of 100. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, this has been Pixel Freak.